What's up, guys?
Hey, how are you?
How do you spend your bye week? Like, what's the self-scout process and all that stuff look like for you?
Yeah, just put all of our coaches on projects based on their area of responsibility, and then kind of combine all of that. And then by the end of the week, kind of look at our analytics too and see if it's all matching up. And then just make sure that, going into this week, we have a really strong sense of where we're at and where we need to go and how we need to get there. So I think Kellen's process and Mickey's process is really good here. And hopefully it'll lead to good things moving forward.
Are there ever big breakthroughs in that, or is that kind of the thing it's media overrated, like the halftime speech, or is it like a? Do you ever have like an oh my god moment, or is it just kind of more like loose ends and things like that?
Well, I think anytime you have a little bit more time to study, there are going to be things that you see that you wouldn't see normally. I think all of us now are self-scouting during the week. You have to in order to reach your capacity. But I think with more time, there's just a little bit more perspective. And then I think when you put all of your coaching staff on certain projects, you're going to get different viewpoints as well. So I think that that's also important, that you're getting different viewpoints. And so you kind of put it all together, and then hopefully it leads to a good conclusion. So we're all trying to be as good as we can be. And I think when you just have some time like we just had, it just freshens you up and gives you the right perspective.
On seeing the analytics kind of match what you saw in the self-scout, is that what sort of data are you using for that? And is that some sort of like a newer thing, or is that something you've been doing?
Yeah, throughout my career, just trying to match it up. There's so much information that you have now, and there's so many different specifics that you can study. So I think as a coach, you're trying to always let the silent tape talk to you first, and then you try to match up what the data, what the analytics are telling you, and hopefully those two things are the same. Sometimes, most of the time they are, but if there's differences, then you can see why. And so I think that, that's the great advantage that you have when you can study the numbers, because it goes both ways. You have to use both things to truly study yourself. And, I think that we do a good job of that here.
What do you think of Kirk Cousins at this stage of his career?
Yeah, I think Kirk has been one of the top quarterbacks, since he started in the league in terms of production. Most of my, good friends in coaching have coached him in the past, Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell. I've had to face him several times at other spots. So I think those of us who have had to compete against him know the caliber of player that he is. He's an extremely productive player, has a lot of, really special quality as a quarterback, as a passer. And then there's so much experience that he has. He's been playing since 2012. He's been a lot of premium systems. He's faced every type of defense that you can face. So, my respect for him, goes a long way because of, again, the people that I know who have coached him, and then us having to face him at different spots. And he's still a quality player. When you see him throw the football, it doesn't take you long to realize that this guy's got real stuff, as a passer. And then when you factor in all the experience that he has, he's always been a very, very dangerous quarterback.
Wondering how, you guys face so many top teams this season, the Patriots, the Rams, and Seahawks. How do you think that shaped the defense based on the quality component and learning from those games?
I think in a big way. I think battle tested for sure. And both, I think, in the types of teams in terms of the quality of the players and then the quality of the offensive coaching. I think it's been premium through 10 games. So I think our guys have gotten a really good taste of what it's like to compete at the highest level. So I think hopefully, that experience and that battle tested will help us, here in the second half of the season.
How much of the run defense performance against Carolina was, you guys just brought it on that day and had a good performance, or you had identified some things going into that game that you thought could improve your run defense?
Yeah, Mike, I think that we just built on our performance throughout the year because I think it had been really solid. I think what was special about that performance, a special run performance was that, our tackling was the best it's been all year. And if I had one just one thing to say. Our tackling was elite in that game. And a lot of it was because there wasn't a lot of space in the tackles, And so I think our guys did a really good job at the point of attack in that game. And then we had a lot of 2 guys, 3 guys on the ball carrier where you didn't get these individual tackles against a special runner, because he's really good. And so is Chuba Hubbard. He's really good too. So it was just a really, I think, quality performance by the whole group. And that's why I think you saw the performance. It was quality by everybody for all 4 quarters.
To see what Bryce Young did the week after, does that make you appreciate your performance even more? Something like that?
Definitely. It's just the league. It's just so hard every week. And I think what Bryce was able to do says a lot about him, because he's a good player and he responded from a tough day and then had a big day. So all of us in this league have to have our edge every week. Because every week anything can happen. And so I felt like our whole team against Carolina had the right edge, all 3 phases of our team, and it was definitely our best performance of the season.
What was the kind of reflection of, okay, there was a couple instances where you fire up the field or you get a blocked field goal and then you have to go back. How did you feel like the group responded to those situations? Obviously forced a couple turnovers.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the quality aspects of our defense so far this year, and in the bye week, looking at the self-scout, has been our sudden change defense. I think we've been quality all season, but particularly in that game, that one sequence, we took points off the board, and that sequence, blocking a field goal, but then getting the takeaway after it, that was a huge sequence because they probably have their field goal there, and then that game would have been tight. That would have been tight, and it would have been a 4th quarter game, and you never know how it's going to go. So I think our guys saw the advantage of, in a sudden change that you can make things happen. Whether it had been a 3-point, field goal there, holding them to 3, or like we did getting the takeaway and then, getting the touchdown afterwards. That's the type of defense that you need to play in those situations to hang tough and give your team a chance.
What do you think the key to that is? Why do you think this group has been?
Yeah, I think the composure and the connection. I think that I think up the middle of our defense, we have just a lot of experience, with DeMario, Pete, Alante, Justin, just have a lot of guys that have been through it, so I think them being able to keep their poise and kind of work inside out to everybody else. And our front's very experienced too. So I think when you have that experience, it helps you, have the right foundation, the right mindset, which is most of it. You just got to execute when the time is tough. You got to execute and keep it simple. You can't try to force something to happen. And I think having experience really helps with that.
I did my next gen level research here. You did get to face Tyler Algier as a rookie, and this will be your first time going against Bijan. Is it the toughest duo you think in the league right now?
One of them, yeah, because I think, like you mentioned, Algiers is a hell of a player. I think he's very underrated, kind of in maybe a similar way that Rico, was, coming out of Dallas, but I think the people that have played against Tyson have that big respect for him as a back. He's just playing with, Bijan, who's one of the top runners in the league and one of the top players in the league. So it's definitely a dynamic tandem, and they complement each other, extremely well. And then they play them together quite a bit, which I think is the sign of a great tandem, So definitely one of the strongest points of their team.
Kevin specifically mentioned offensively, they knew they were taking a lot of sacks on 2nd down, but once he had the time on the bye week to sort of look, and they were setting themselves up with 2nd and 10, 2nd and 9s. Was there anything over the bye that maybe given the time to contextualize a little more you feel better about coming out now?
That we feel better about?
Just given the time to sit down and say, okay, why are we in this situation and how can we get that corrected?
Yeah. I think there's definitely there's like more specific aspects, like Kellen, I think probably alluded to within our defense. How we can create a couple more negative plays on 1st and 2nd down. That could be like in the red zone, for instance. How we can do that better. On some of the windows of 3rd down, maybe things that we've done at a high level, but hey, we need to do something different moving forward because that's kind of what people are going to see and what people are going to attack moving forward. Or maybe, there's something on a specific personnel grouping that we have that we really like that hasn't come to life yet. We haven't been able to get it on tape yet. But, hey, we think that moving forward it can really help us playing this specific, package, moving forward. So I think those are all elements to the bye that help you, I think, breathe a little bit and say, okay, this is going to be our course moving forward, knowing who we are a lot better. You know who you are a lot better through 10 games, and hopefully that can help you moving forward.
Someone was also saying that feels like the secondary of the last month has played a lot better. I'm just curious on your vantage point of that, and what do you think has improved?
I think we have, for sure. I thought the Rams game was a tough game for us, but I thought it was a very useful game for us moving forward in terms of learning how we need to play, especially against a premium passing attack. But I think that they're doing the little things well, starting with their alignment, starting with where their eyes go, and then playing with the right technique. Our guys that are young definitely have the right mindset. The scheme and, I would say their command of knowing what to do, and, that's not been the issue. It's just playing it right and playing it at the high level, and that's where you're going to get the playmaking, and that's where you're going to get the consistency of the playmaking. So I just think we've been a lot more consistent fundamentally, and that's led to, sounder coverage, tighter coverage, more plays being made. And again, as you guys saw, that Carolina group's got a lot of good players in it. But we've also, and I think you mentioned it, we've faced a lot of good passing attacks. So I think you factor in that experience. Some of these young guys have really been able to learn and improve through that, and hopefully that's set them up to have a good second half of the season.
It looks like when they show you on TV, your call sheets, kind of, you see some guys with huge ones. Do you have really good eyes, or are you just deliberate about what you put on your sheet? Because it definitely looks, you see some guys that it's man, there's no way you're using everything on there, but
right.
What's your process for that?
My process is I want everything on one sheet. And I think that it's kind of that. I read a book a long time ago that you should be able to put your blueprint on one page. Even if you're the CEO of an organization, you should be able to put it all on one page. And so I'm kind of that way. And I think there's an advantage that people can't see it. If you have to flip over, sometimes now they can zoom in and see some things, and that's a fact. And so I like the fact that it's hidden. But I also like the fact that it's tight. And I think that that's something I've learned, more and more, is that you got to keep it simple, to be effective. And, and then hopefully my eyes will stay with me here so that, that font doesn't have to get bigger. I'm sure it's going to have to get bigger, but we're not there yet. Yeah, that's, I've seen Sean and Dan Campbell and some guys that I know. And again, hopefully I can hang in there a little bit more. Otherwise, you'll truly become wise, once you get, once you guys, rocking those type of glasses.
Has that always been your approach with it, or has that become refined over the years? And
It's been refined, but that's kind of how I've been since I've been calling plays. Just, I kind of feel like, again, as I mentioned, keeping it tight, not just for your players, but for yourself, knowing that you have a week to prepare, and that you pour so much into it. There's no perfect plans, just perfect intentions, and you got to stick to what you do and what you know, and then be able to adjust, of course. But I think that sets the right tone for how you need to play.
I apologize for asking the defensive coach about an offensive player, but we've only seen Tyler for 2.5 games now, 2.25 games.
Yeah.
From your standpoint as an observer, how have you seen him mature from week 1 to now?
I've seen the progress from OTAs to now, and I think that's been really significant. I think you guys who have been with us have also seen it. You guys who were at scrimmages during training camp, through preseason games, that's where you trust your eyes in terms of what you're seeing. And so I feel like he's held his own, and I felt like last game was kind of a cool breakthrough that every young player needs to feel it, and for everyone else to see it and feel it. And now you just got to build on it, because it's really hard to keep going. But the best compliment you can give, and I've said this about Quincy and some of our rookies, is, holding your own is a compliment. And it also is a compliment when people can say you look like you belong. And I think that he's shown that.
Fumble recovery, Alante rather than jump on the ball,
Yeah.
blow up Coker? Like, is that how you coach it? Like, what was your?
Oh man,
thought
such an
about that?
awesome, cool, like heads up, heady situational play. You know, Kellen showed it to our team, and hopefully people are showing it around the league. Just a super heady play by him to see that the ball's on the deck and that guy's going to try and get it, and I can't probably scoop it, so I can prevent him from scooping it. And then now I allow my teammates to go make the play. It was just such a heads up play. One of those like glue guy winning plays that us coaches, you know, love to teach off of, but a huge moment in the game. Because if he goes to gets it, you know, kicks it, whatever, maybe that guy gets it, something bad happens. But, you know, Alante really capped, I think, a special performance with a super heady play. All right, guys. Take care.